Hi there, it's Amy from the Crazy Craft Lady. In today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you how I line up multicolor or rainbow letters in heat transfer vinyl for iron-on projects. So I am in Cricut Design Space. I was just kind of toying around with different fonts and colors, trying to make a first day of school t-shirt for my twins. My son and daughter are starting first grade in a couple of weeks. So I made different color combinations. This one is for my son and this one is for my daughter. My fonts are, this thick font is called Impact and this thin font is called Blackjack. And I just, I shrunk the letter spacing just by a little bit on this one. And I'm gonna weld those letters together so that it's all smooth, one smooth piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and just hide this guy. Because I only want to deal with one of these at a time. And I'm actually going to end up hiding this black font too, because I think it's going to be easier just to place this by hand and eyeball it. I'm not as concerned about that. What I'm really concerned about are these 5 letters right here. Okay, so I'm going to use heat transfer vinyl in 4 different colors, light and dark pink, orange, and yellow on this t-shirt. I want to be able to make sure that when I place these letters, they are evenly spaced exactly and in a straight line. And then I'll go back and I'll just eyeball the hello and the grade. That's not as big of a deal, but this is what I'm really concerned about. So whenever I have a project that has multiple colors and I am concerned that I'm not going to be able to eyeball it and get the positioning just right, I use guide marks. Usually a star, because that makes it easier to line up. A teeny tiny little star, and I'm going to duplicate it. So normally what I would do is I would place right along the top of my design 2 stars, and I would actually just layer them one on top of each other. I would actually do a pile of 4 stars here and a pile of 4 stars here, one in each of my colors. And so then when I cut out, my orange, I would have 2 orange stars up here that I would be able to line up perfectly on top of light pink, 2 stars, yellow 2 stars, and dark pink 2 stars. And then if it was, a decal, I could just remove these after the fact. Unfortunately, with a project like this, where I've got text with multiple different colors, I would run the risk of having a bunch of excess waste with vinyl, and that really kind of irritates me as unnecessary waste when you're working on vinyl projects. So I'm going to try a new method that involves multiple guide marks, and I think it's going to work out okay. So the idea is, I'm going to end up wanting a bunch of these stars. The idea is you have 2 stars between each letter. One, so like in this first instance, in this first space, the first star is going to be dark pink and the second star is going to be orange. Then I'm just going to highlight these 2 stars, align, and center them on top of each other, and then position them right between. So then on this next one, I want an orange star and a light pink star. I will once again highlight them both by just dragging and clicking. Align and center, and place that somewhat in the middle. I'm going to duplicate 4 more stars here. In this space, it's going to be light pink and yellow. Once again, I'm going to highlight, align and center. And then on this final space, I want 1 yellow and 1 dark pink. Okay, final time. Align and center. There we go. Now the only thing that I have left to do is I want to weld together my, oops, I didn't want to do that. Oops. The last thing that I want to do is I want to weld together my light colors. So I want that yellow star that's hidden underneath this dark pink, my S, and this yellow star. I want them all to be welded together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hide all of my star shapes that are not, let's say arbitrarily, I'm just going to pick yellow. So I can select these 3 items, weld them together. Now this cut right here is the S and the 2 stars together. I'm going to go ahead and hide that, and I'll unhide my 2 light pink. So I can highlight those, weld them together. I'm going to go ahead and hide my light pink, unhide my 2 orange, highlight those, weld them together, and then final step would be to go hide the orange and then unhighlight my 2 bright pink stars. And once again, I'm going to weld this all together. And in this case, I'm going to weld that as one large piece. So then when I unhide my other 3 colors, I have my word again. So now I can go ahead and click Make It. Since this is iron-on vinyl, when you get to the Make It section, you are supposed to mirror it. But in this case, sometimes a lot of times, I forget to mirror my vinyl. And since we're talking about not wasting vinyl, I'm just going to go ahead, highlight everything, flip it horizontal, and be done with it. So that way I don't forget to mirror anything when I click Make It. So now it's going to sort everything onto mats by color, and you'll notice that like I'm using just a tiny little bit of orange and a tiny bit of yellow and a tiny bit of light pink. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all this out and weed it, and I'll be back and show you how I'm going to iron this onto my daughter's t-shirt. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out all of my my 4 colors of letters, as well as my black font, cursive font script, and I'm just going to go ahead and weed. I'm going to weed these letters real quick. My dark pink has a white background, so don't let that throw you off. Oh, my Cricut. That beep was my Easy Press. It's heated. Okay, so that'll be the beginnings of my first. And so you'll see these are my 2 like outside guide marks. Had I ended up not using my multiple sets of guide marks, I would have ended up having like my orange, right, would have been here, and then I would have had my orange guide mark over here. So I would have had significantly more waste. I would have ended up having basically sheets this size for orange, light pink, and yellow. And that just seemed a little bit wasteful. So this is like my tiny little workaround. It's just a little bit of extra work to get these letters lined up. Okay, so there we go. I have everything weeded, ready to go. I'm just going to set these aside here. And then I've got my t-shirt that I ordered. I think I just ordered this one off Amazon. It's a plain white t-shirt. And I'm just going to give it a quick little press. It's got this little funky detail up here, so I got to make sure I get this top part extra smooth before I iron on my letters. Just give that a quick press. And then I'm just gonna kind of preliminarily plan this out. So if I have my black letters here and here, I think that'll look pretty good for this t-shirt. So actually I'm going to add the black very last, but now I know that my dark pink is in just the right spot. Now before I do my heat press, there's one more thing. I don't want these stars sticking to this t-shirt underneath. So I have a plain piece, just like regular printer paper. You could use cardstock, whatever. I'm just gonna slide this right underneath so that my letters stick to the t-shirt and my stars stick to the paper. Now I don't have heat resistant tape here with me right now, so I'm just gonna use like painter's tape to tape this to my t-shirt down at the bottom so that it doesn't move. You can see I'm just kind of taping it, but I want to tape it far enough away that my heat press or my iron or whatever doesn't touch the tape, because I don't want this adhesive melting into my t-shirt. Okay, so I'm going to do my first layer. I'm going to put my protective film, and I've got my heat press set to 305 for 30 seconds, which is what the manufacturer of this particular vinyl called for. I'm not using like Cricut brand vinyl on this, just because I ordered a big multi-pack off Amazon with like 15 different colors, just so I could play around with heat transfer projects fairly inexpensively. This is a first day of school shirt, so it's probably not going to be worn multiple times, so if it doesn't wash perfectly well, I'm not that worried about it. But I will be sure to, oh, there we go, 30 seconds, leave a review and let you know how this brand holds up, and if I like it, I will add a link in the comments to this brand of vinyl. Okay, there we go. So I've got my F and my T, set that aside. Now I want to do my R, or my I, the next letter in first. So you have the pink star, and I have an orange star right here on the left, and I want that star and this star to line up. So I'm just going to place this right here. And the nice thing about the star is there's 5 points on it, so there's really no excuse to not get this perfectly lined up. I'm going to place my cover on here again and go for another 30 seconds. Okay, there we go. And that actually left, the edge of my vinyl actually left the slightest little wrinkle in my letter F. I don't know if you can see it. So I think on my remaining letters, I'm going to trim this a little bit closer so that that doesn't happen again. There we go. So now this left light pink star is going to line up perfectly on top of my orange star. And we're going to heat it for another 30 seconds. Okay, we're going to peel this off. Perfect. And then the final letter is the S, and I'm going to trim again these edges so that I don't create any wrinkles. That first crease that came when I did my I, that crease on the F, is like almost completely smoothed over now, so I think we'll be okay. There we go. There you go. So that's trimmed. Now, if I've done my job correctly, these 2 yellow stars will line up perfectly on top of the light pink and the dark pink. So it's the moment of truth here. Guys, I think we nailed it. It's pretty dang close. It's pretty perfect. So 30 more seconds. So I've got my letters lined up nice and perfect, but I obviously don't want to see these stars because they're not part of my design. So I'm just going to take away my computer paper, and I'm just left with my rainbow letter word. And then all that's left is to add my two black script letters. And like I said, I can just eyeball these. It's not as crucial that I get these perfectly straight like I did my rainbow letters. So there we go. 30 more seconds of heat, and I think this project will be done. And there you have it. Now my daughter is all ready for her first day of first grade. I hope you like this craft project. Follow along and subscribe on YouTube if you want to see more Cricut tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.